this guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
And so I declare the motion carried, and Mr. Kelly McCauley, duly elected chair of the committee.
So one of the items we needed to finish off from last time was the report on the Consul General residence in New York. So suggesting that we or seek consent to reestablish the study, that the evidence received last session be deemed to have been received in this session, instructions given to our analysts to write the report so that we can actually get the report written and submitted to the House. No more witnesses, no more time on it, but just so we can get it to the analysts to have it written so we can report it to the House.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And obviously, I was not a member of this committee last time around, but I would just suggest that we have work to get to. We have more emerging and pressing issues that are coming to light now. So my preference, don't want to speak for my colleagues, but is that we focus on the future and move forward with more pressing issues.
It's so important to not to abandon everything that was done in the past. I'm new here at OGGO, so if we could have an overview and have something concrete, I mean, in my opinion, in each committee, we see these happening, bringing forward the past work. We know analysts are doing an excellent job. We want you to have work to do this summer, but I think it's very important to know exactly what's happening and what has happened, and then we can move on to what's coming up.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would just add to the conversation, as you've noted, we would not be inviting any more witnesses. The testimony is there. I think the analysts might not mind having a report to work on over the summer so that it could be presented to us in the fall. And, the length of time it takes to review a report and adopt it, I don't think would preclude us getting to other important business. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's really disrespectful to the Canadian taxpayer if you spend all this time and money on a study and then don't finalize with a report. So I think taxpayers would appreciate seeing an end result to the money that they've put into it.
Okay. Well, I was hoping we can do it on UC, but we don't have it on UC. We can do it through a regular motion now, or when we get back in September. And vote on it that way?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we bring forward the work on the Consul General's condominium, that testimony, with the intention of doing a report and presenting it to the House.
Thank you. I guess Ms. Jansen has a point. It's to get it started, to give directions to the analysts to start writing the report. So at least we can have it written over the summer. Are we okay with that, colleagues? Okay. Well, okay. Can we go to a vote on it? Clerk? Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gair?
No.
Mr. Gasparo?
Nope.
Madame Rochefort?
No.
Ms. Sodds?
No?
Ms. Bloch?
Yes.
Ms. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Padzer?
Yes.
Et Madame Gaudreau?
Oui.
Okay. 4 against 4, right? So, yes pour 4, 4, and nays contre 4,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
You're voting yes. Okay.
So carried. I have another one. It's on the Indigenous procurement one. We had many, if you recall, or if you had participated, we had many Indigenous witnesses, some elders, experts who were not able to participate. They joined in the meeting, but if you recall, we lost several because of Zoom issues, technological issues. So I'm hoping we can get UC to reestablish that study so we can hear from the Indigenous witnesses. We had from the Yukon, I recall, and some were from, I think it was McGill or from Montreal, but one of them, we actually tried 3 separate times to have them Zoom in, and 3 times we had technological issues. So I'm hoping we can have UC to reestablish those meetings, or that study to continue, so we can hear from the Indigenous witnesses and experts that could not join because of our IT issues.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your election as Chair. As a new member to this committee, I'm not familiar with the proceedings that were had before Parliament was prorogued. So was there a number of meetings that was set for this particular study or no?
Well, first of all, congratulations to you, but allow me to express my disappointment that you were not following OGGO religiously as the public does. There had been some set aside, and then it had been extended a lot because of the continuing IT issues. So we'd set a meeting aside, people would join in, and then we could not get the interpretation because of IT issues.
So do we have an estimate on how many meetings we would like on this?
I think it was 3 witnesses. So 1 or 2, to reestablish here from the missing witnesses, and then it give you time over the summer to review it. Like, we're not saying to do it tomorrow or during the summer, but come September, but it'll give you time over the summer to take a look at it, but it's to hear from those. But we can commit to hearing from the ones that we missed out on because of IT. The suits?
Again, was not on this committee previously, but I do seem to recall that there was an Indigenous procurement report that was tabled in the House in December, assuming that stemmed from this committee? No?
Not us.
Okay.
Yes, this was one report.
It was a report, the House motion regarding more around some fraud issues, but it wasn't from the study itself.
It appears to me, and as I was just looking on the site, there was a report tabled in December that came out of this committee. Yeah, I think the clerk is agreeing. I'm not crazy.
The following, the committee report, the House recommended that companies engaged in a fraud be barred from accessing contracts and a response be provided. But that was more regarding fraud, but not the fulsome report.
Thank you.
And what was the report more broadly? Sorry, I
About
apologize.
Indigenous procurement, largely around, some on the fraud, some came out of the Dalian Cordix issue, some on companies purporting to be Indigenous but not, some on the inability for PSPC to actually honor the commitment of delivering business to Indigenous set-aside. So if we want, we can make it around hearing from those Indigenous. We'll extend it to hear from the Indigenous witnesses that could not participate and kind of go from there. I'm not looking to do anything immediately, but just to reestablish it for September.
Could I maybe ask or suggest that perhaps the clerk draft a briefing of what has been done to date and what's being asked to move forward, building on, just so we make an informed decision?
We can do that and revisit in September then. Are we fine with that? Perfect. Wonderful. And you guys are going to love this one. We had a document request from Dalian Cordix, and we discussed greatly. It was much delayed because of translation and other issues. It is ready to distribute. It is many, many, many thousands of pages, but it's provided by the 2 companies in question, so there are items that are not redacted personal information. We can distribute it to everyone, but I'm going to suggest, because it's not redacted with personal information for the meantime, we send it only to the P9s and not make it public. They would be sent out over the summer. I think it's close to 100,000 pages.
Thousands and thousands of...
Many, many thousands. But again, they haven't provided it in redacted form. We did not ask for it in redacted form, so because there's private information, whether it's phone numbers or emails, I'm going to suggest in the meantime, until we decide otherwise, it just be distributed to the P9s.
Again, having no context of where this is coming from or the previous work on this, I'm not comfortable having something sent to my P9 that does contain personal confidential information. I would suggest again, perhaps the clerk can prepare us a brief or, get us into the loop of what has happened.
The original motion was not written such as we can decide, like if the motion is to table them to the committee. So they are ready. So what I'm suggesting is that we just limit them to the P9s for the present. So they are going to come out. The motion wasn't, we'll send, depending on what we decide, the motion was to provide to the committee. So I'm just suggesting, because they're not redacted,
Right.
I'm not sure what personal information is in
Yeah.
there, but I'm just saying let's limit it to the P9s for now, and then we can decide from there if we wish it to go to the broader, as is normally done.
Chair, isn't usual practice for documents like this for members to review them in camera? No?
It's an option.
I'm not going to propose whether we review 100,000 pages in camera. I'm suggesting, like, they're coming out. My suggestion is we just stay with the P9s until we decide otherwise come September.
Is there a way for us, and again, I apologize, is there a way for us, Mr. Chair, to get some sort of briefing on what this is, the context? Like, I like politics as much as anyone, but I didn't follow.
You could read the blues from the meetings.
Okay.
Or ask the analysts to perhaps send you a brief, but again, the motion called for the items to be delivered to the committee.
And the motions from the last Parliament carry over to this one?
Yep. They were.
Excuse me. Isn't the oh yes. Oh, you're discussing. Okay.
The committee and the
Because
fall of
asked and committed and
2023.
delivered,
Yeah,
but it hadn't come to us just yet.
when prorogation occurred.
Yeah.
I am also a new member, sir. I'm sorry. On that note, though, when a motion did it not die when the Parliament ended, and is not the issue then?
It had already come to, the clerk had been kind of sitting with prorogation. If you wish, I can't imagine any of you are going to sit there and read through 100, any of us want to sit there through the summer, read 100,000 pages on this. If this big an issue, I can have someone send a, you can read the blues and see it exactly what it is. I can have the motion sent to you. You can get a bit more context. We can follow up in September.
We were just assigned, so we're going to have homework to do. And that homework is to really go through all the work that was done. Maybe because I was assigned sooner, I had the time to get a briefing from my predecessor, Ms. Viguion, who's not even a member anymore. But the summer will be time to look at what was done. And please, I'm completely for example, voting to complete the work that was not done. We're talking about public funds here. This is important work. And of course, with the thousands of pages to read, I would not want it to be done in committee during our meetings, but we can do it, look over the information while we're in our riding so that we're ready for September and we can look at future work. But let's finish the work that was started last Parliament.
Conferring with the clerk, like the items were delivered to the committee. They just hadn't been forwarded when prorogation happened. I can have our clerk explain why we can still access them. But go ahead, but I've heard from Ms. Gaudreau, she would like to see them over the summer. I think other colleagues would like, and considerable expense has been put into translating these items. So go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Well, thank you, Chair. All this documentation is basically the response provided by the two firms in question, Dalian and Coradix, to the committee, following the adoption by this committee of basically a series of motions for the production of papers that were adopted, if my memory serves right, in November and December of 2023. Of course, the text of these motions can be found for instance, in the relevant minutes of proceedings of these meetings. But for instance, The committee, for instance, was sending for a copy of the contract that were signed between GC Strategies and the CBSA, the Canadian Border Service Agency. The committee requested lots and lots of documentation and information. All this to say that it took some time for these two companies to give a fulsome response, the full documentation to the committee. They did in early of 2024, last year. And as the committee chair just mentioned, it spent some time at the Translation Bureau throughout the last year. And we received it fully translated toward the end of last year of 2024. Me and my team, the committee assistant, we were aiming at sending it to all committee members by mid-January of this year. But what happened, as you know, on January 6th, a prorogation of Parliament occurred. And that basically put everything to a halt, including that type of distribution. And then, you know the story, there was a dissolution of Parliament and a call to general election. Now, this documentation, it's still in the hopper of the committee, so this is why I was asking the committee's leadership to see with the committee if the committee wishes to receive that documentation, reestablish the study, and because it has been in the hopper for a little while. So I hope that this gives more context for the committee members.
I'm not exactly sure it's realistic for a new committee member to read through hundreds of hours of blues to try to get a understanding of what is coming through, i.e. 100,000 pages of documentation. So, I think a proper briefing is appropriate in this regard, and then we can make an informed decision, or an informed vote at least.
Well, there are two things on the table right now. I completely agree with getting a briefing or to get a summary of what happened. Yes, that could be done in September virtually. That's completely fine. But where there's disagreement, we can vote on that, I guess, Mr. Chair. We can't drop documents that we've been waiting for since 2023. We can try to stretch things out, but we need those documents. So perhaps we could separate the two, get a briefing for those who need it. I would be one of those people, but I also need the documents to really look at things closely.
I was hoping to do that on a UC, but that's obviously not going to happen, so would require a motion from floor. We can consider that a motion just to release them just to the P9s, as I'm suggesting, or to the General Committee. I'll leave that to you.
Well, I move that the documents from last Parliament be sent only to the P9 accounts so that committee members may consult them as soon as they are received.
Documents from the Daly and Gordex motion.
Exact.
Thanks.
Merci.
So again, to be clear, it'll just be to the P9s, not to be shared. Perfect. And kept confidential for the time being until we decide otherwise. Ms. Suits?
It's SUDS, just to clarify. Thank you. Good. SUDS. So two questions. One would be, and again, being new to this, is there an open study that we have on the table right now of which these documents are feeding into? And second of all, would just to concur, I think a briefing would be super helpful as we dig into this.
Yeah, there's an open study, but it was from the motion for these papers that were supposed to be delivered to the committee. Briefing can be provided, I'm sure, by the analysts. To Mr. Gasparo's comment about the blues, it's quite easy to find it from the blues. They can provide those specific meetings, but they can. It'd be easier to do a separate briefing for you if you wish.
Yeah, or maybe what we can do. We can have a written briefing sent at the same time as the documents are sent out, so we're just not receiving 100,000 documents with absolutely zero context, which is ridiculous. So if, it really is like,
Miss Benson and then Miss Rochefort. Jansen?
Yes, I'm new to OGGO as well, and I must admit I wasn't watching OGGO. But I myself am fairly familiar with Dalian and Coredex just simply from the things that we were hearing actually, through the media. So, it's not terribly difficult to figure out what this is about. But I do expect there's going to be a lot of work, and I'm excited to get started on that. And I'm very thankful to the team for making sure that we continue to look at these very, very serious issues.
Miss, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. But because I'm new, I did not quite understand. I'm hoping maybe to get additional details to have a better understanding. And I hope you'll be lenient here, given that I'm a new member. So just for the record, I am not comfortable with this because I still do not understand the process necessarily of why we revisit documents. And I just wanted Mr. Chair
the committee, the motion, you're arguing something that I don't want to say is irrelevant. It's not relevant to this motion. There was a very clear motion directing the documents to be delivered. If you're not comfortable with that, I don't know what to say about that, but the motion is very clear. We can, if we're fine, we can just move to be technical. There's an amendment. We can vote on the amendment, but I think we have consensus that we're fine with the motion amended. We can vote on that or continue debate on that. Are we fine? Why don't we just start with the amendment? Are we fine with the amendment?
And
Perfect.
so are we going to have a recorded vote? Is this a recorded vote? Like, how does that work, Mr. Chair?
We have an amendment before us. We can vote on the amendment, or we can accept it as unanimous consent, which we seem to have. I see nods all around. So unless someone disagrees with your amendment, we will go back to the motion as amended, which is to provide the documents to the members' P9s only, to stay confidential, because there is stuff out there we do not want shared, and also be provided to the analysts and their staff separately, I'll say, is a briefing document.
So I would like a recorded, please, I would like a recorded
on
vote.
Your amendment?
On the motion, on the amended motion.
Okay. We can get to that if we're ready to that. Perfect, sir. And I'm going to suggest it will be delivered different tranches. One tranche will be on a SharePoint to the P9s only, the documents. The analysts separately will deliver to everyone, so to your staff, the briefing. So is that clear? Mm-hmm. So the staff and the members will get the briefing. The members only will get the documents on a SharePoint. And those items are not to be shared with anyone, not with the whip's office. They're P9 only, confidential until this committee decides otherwise. There's not just personal information, phone numbers, but there's also security clearance numbers, security information. So that's why we're suggesting P9 only till we decide otherwise. So are we clear on what the motion will be?
Maybe say it one more time,
Good.
just for all of us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That the Dalian Codex documents, as from the original motion, will be delivered to the P9 only and the members, to stay confidential to the members only, no one else besides the members. And a briefing document will be provided by the analysts separately on a separate email, but to everyone, associates, but also staff members. But on a separate email or separate email access for the Cordion or the Dalian Codex documents will only be to the P9s. It has to stay confidential. So not to be shared with staff, whip, anyone. P9 only. Mm-hmm. Clear? On that motion?
Yep, I'll speak on that motion. Chair, just I was on OGGO Committee before Parliament prorogued, including the clerk as well. And so any sensitive documents that came to that committee, we generally did review them in camera. No, that's fine. Okay. I'm just making a point. But it was a particular room. There was a particular room that was set aside, a particular time that was set aside for individuals to go and review those documents. And that was sort of for the most confidential types of documents. Not being on this committee beforehand, I sense that these documents are pretty sensitive in nature as well, depending on based on the discussion that we've had so far. Is there any sort of penalty of a leak from a P9 of these documents?
We, in this committee, we've distributed private stuff, confidential stuff before. The only time I've seen it done to a separate room has been BACS documents for public accounts, and then also for the battery study. But no, we just send out leaks. There's privilege issues, but are we Debating, are we back debating the amended motion?
It's a question, actually. Yes.
So you wish to go, okay, I'm starting a speaking list now on the amended motion. On the amended motion, please.
Yes, so if there is a leak...
And this is not on the amended motion.
If there is if there is a leak of the amended motion, is there a penalty
that is not a question of debate on the amended motion? It's for a separate I don't want to be difficult, but questions of what ifs are not part of the motion or the amended motion. So can we get to the vote on the amended motion, or we can get to debate on the amended motion, but we can't get into procedural what-ifs?
No, Chair, just generally in previous committees, we are usually allowed to ask for points of clarification. I'm looking to the clerk because she was my clerk in industry committee.
Okay, it's not our clerk.
Yeah.
Our clerk is here.
Sure.
And not to be pissy, but if you wish questions of the clerk, it should come through the chair. But I'm not sure what your question is or what the issue is.
So my question is, are we allowed to ask for points of clarification?
On the motion?
On the motion as amended, before the vote is called.
I'm not sure what your question is, but go ahead. The motion is very clear that the items will be delivered by an email to your P9.
So the question that was asked by my colleague and by myself is there a penalty that's involved?
Okay, there's nothing to do with the motion, sir. I don't understand. There's privilege issues. If, sake of argument, I take it and distribute it, it could be a privilege issue that are reported to the House. But that's irrelevant to the motion itself, which is we assume MPs will be honorable and not, but there are privilege issues if it is leaked.
Okay. That's it. That's all I wanted to ask. Yeah.
Is anything on the motion itself, the amended motion?
Recorded vote?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Gair? Mr. Gasparo?
No.
Madame Rochefort?
No.
Ms. Sudds?
No?
Ms. Bloch?
Yes.
Ms. Jensen?
Yes.
Mr. Padzer?
Yes.
Madame Gaudreau?
Ben oui.
Yeas pour 4, 4, and nays contre.
As it was the will of the committee in the original motion, yes.
Yes.
I forgot to thank a special person who's a very good friend of the committee. I noticed this week, I was watching Senate Finance, because I don't have a life, they put through a motion praising Mr. Giroux, the parliamentary budget officer. They endorsed renewing his mandate as a PBO because it expires September 2nd. We're not going to get an opportunity to see Mr. Giroux come in before then. So I just wanted to thank Mr. Giroux on behalf of the committee for all his work. I jokingly teased George Martin was the 5th member of the Beatles and Mr. Giroux was the 11th or the 12th member of OGGO. Always available to us. Sometimes we called him with only a couple hours notice to appear in committee. I saw him spar with every member of this committee, Liberal, Bloc, NDP, and Conservative. And I certainly didn't always agree with his analysis, but I always thought they were very thorough and very partisan and very straightforward. So Mr. Giroux, if you're watching, because I know you do watch OGGO, because who doesn't? Thank you very much from the committee. You were a fantastic friend of the committee. I appreciate all the work you've done for us. Mrs. Bloch?
Mr. Chair, would it be in order for us as a committee to also propose that his term be renewed? And would it take a motion to do that? I agree with your assessment. I think we would benefit very much from his expertise. And given that the Senate has already passed a motion in the Senate, could I put a motion forward today that the Committee on Government Operations and Estimates request the renewal of the Parliamentary Budget Officer?
The PBO does a great job. I respect them greatly. Wouldn't it be highly inappropriate, though, for a committee to be presenting such a recommendation for an agent of Parliament that there is a bit of an arm's length relationship there? We can commend them for their work. Thank them for their work, but a recommendation from committee, I don't think there's precedent for that.
Committees are their own bosses, so to speak. If it's the will of the committee, then yes, we can. There's nothing inappropriate about it. The Senate Finance Committee, I don't know if you use their wording, but the Senate Finance Committee did identical. So, again, it's not binding. It's just recommendation.
Could I recommend put forward a motion that would suggest that we just recognize his good work and provide words of appreciation? I'm not sure if there was a motion. I think you had put forward a motion.
Yeah, we're debating the motion
so
itself.
It's still the word itself, the recommend, that I'm uncomfortable with. I think our duty is to acknowledge the good work and to put forward words that recognize that good work, but not necessarily to recommend the renewal of his contract.
Great. Call the vote, sir.
Oh, whoops. Mr. Gair.
Sorry, do we have the text of the motion? I know the vote's been called, but yeah, just if you email it.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Gair.
No.
Mr. Gasparo.
No.
Madame Rochefort.
No.
Ms. Sudds.
No.
Ms. Bloch.
Yes.
Ms. Jensen.
Yes.
Mr. Padzer.
Yes.
Madame Gaudreau.
Oui.
Yeas pour 4-4 and nays contre 4-4.
Yes.
Yes. Chair votes in favor.
Okay, colleagues, thanks very much. Sorry, took a bit longer than I thought, but I appreciate some of the housekeeping clear up. Appreciate everyone's help today, getting through today. Welcome to all the new members, our new vice chairs, and look forward to working with you as much as I worked with Mr. Shoari and Mrs. Vignola. Thank you very much, everyone. We are adjourned.